You know what it's time for?
FANschooLive!
Hello everybody, welcome to FANschooLive here on ESPN8, The Ocho. I'm your host, John Honish. We're broadcasting from Turner Middle School in Beloit, Wisconsin. Brand new show, kicking off with episode 1 here. We're going to get you all the insider info that you need to dominate your FANschool league in whatever format you're playing, wherever you're playing. If you have no idea what FANschool is, I urge you to check them out, www.fanschool.org, or follow them on Twitter with the handle @PlayFANschool. But that's enough about the show itself. Let's get right into it with our Who's Hot, Who's Not segment. Our first country on the Who's Hot list this week is Spain. The Catalan independence question will likely continue to be a hot-button issue, especially considering the nature of the vote for secession, with many that did not head to the polls crying foul over the results. With scores moving into the 60s, Spain is now a must-own in all leagues and formats. The next country on our Who's Hot list is China. China started the year ranked lower than usual in most scoring formats. Has a sleeping giant awoken? It's almost always a top 5 country, and I would look for this global power to stick around for a while. On our Who's Not list this week is Mexico. Without earthquakes happening consistently, this former hot commodity on many leagues' draft days is no longer a solid #1 country for your roster. New Zealand also makes the list. The elections are over, and so is New Zealand's time as a relevant FANschool country. With their score dipping back into the low 30s, it really only makes sense to own them in deep leagues with at least 75 to 90 countries in play. This week we have a flash in the pan. Tiny island nation Grenada. They hosted the Caribbean Tourism Conference, and they increased their level of donations to their hurricane-ravaged neighbors in recent weeks. They were up as high as 220%, but that will not hold. They are about to disappear from relevance. If you own Grenada, get rid of them now. Much like in fantasy football, FANschool also has handcuffs, where one country's value is directly related to the value of another. This week, it's Myanmar and Bangladesh. Bangladesh has remained a decent option, especially if you have a deeper league, because of all of the refugees that they've taken in from Myanmar. However, Myanmar's value is plummeting. Myanmar will only stay relevant if it gets a boost in mentions if this crisis continues. Not something we really want to happen, but for Myanmar owners, it's the only hope. Let's wrap up this episode by taking a look at my big board. This is basically how things should go down if you were drafting today, but as always, draft strategies and league formats vary widely, so take these with a grain of salt, folks. I'm going to give you my top 20 overall, and I'm also going to highlight some picks that you should be looking for as value in later rounds. I've got China as my #1 right now, since they've proven they can score inside the top 3 again, but consistency over time is the biggest reason I have them at #1. Very high floor for China, they'll never let you down. I pegged Iran at 5, which is lower than some others have them ranked this week, most notably FANschool founder Eric Nelson. I just don't know if there's enough long-term potential to put them above consistent top scorers like Germany, France, and Russia. One country that always seems to inexplicably fall on draft day is Italy. They may not be flashy, but they are a solid late first-round addition. Now let's take a look at my bargain bin. I've got India, if you can target them in the 50 to 60 range, which for some of you is well into the 3rd round. Brazil should be had easily no earlier than 35 to 45. And Syria, last year's All-Pro Syria, falling late enough that you could snag them at 60 to 70 right now. Now I admit they're not scoring like they did last year, but lots of value to be had out there. Now it's time for I Blew It, a segment featuring a student that just made a bad decision and, well, they blew it. I Blew It is brought to you by Rand McNally. Rand McNally. Yes, we still think we're relevant despite Google Earth.
I drafted Ukraine because I looked at the points, I looked at the plus instead of the points, and they did not end up doing well.